I met him before Hey Arnold. I met him, there were these World's Fair films that we were making for a guy named Bob Rogers in Burbank. And I met him through that. There were mutual friends on that project that put us together. And he's a great guy. He's a super amazing musician. And he the Arnold thing, I mean, if you try to kind of like what the whole Arnold gestalt, that's a huge part of that. There are moments on Hey Arnold that I'll watch, like I'll watch it on DVD now, because the whole series is on DVD, and I will not have seen episodes for 10 years or so, and I'll watch it and I'll be like, wow, it's super emotional. We were doing it on purpose. We were trying to make it be about childhood, and we thought that the way for us to make the show different from other cartoon shows was to be kind of emotionally realistic, like the kids that were doing the voices, unlike the other shows which are being voiced by adults, right. Women playing kids. It was so kind of authentic that we thought, well, this would be cool, like do some really sad stuff. Like Helga's family is really awful, and her world is pretty sad. So we got deeper and deeper into it. So by the third season, we did Parents' Day and the Thanksgiving special. They have the worst Thanksgiving ever, and they go to Mr. Simmons, and he's got his family there. If you listen to those, the music on those is really cool, and it's really moving, and I watch it and I get kind of choked up, and I usually go, man, it's embarrassing, like this is like weird diary pages that everybody got to see. Luckily the audience was younger, they were mostly kids, so they just basically completely embraced it, and they didn't even stop to go, well, that's weird. And the note that would be funny would be, you always get the note from the execs and from the TV channel or whatever. They're always like, this is too sophisticated for kids. Like, kids won't get this, or kids won't like this. And I never found that to be the case. Yeah. Basically, they watch one episode. Right. They either kind of go, I love this, I really love this character or that thing about it. And then they keep watching and they don't care where it goes. In fact, they want you to take them somewhere else. They don't want to just watch the same thing over and over. So as we got into it, it became like the show that was about like intense, weird, kooky emotions and creepy, weirdness. That was very early in the series. That was episode 3 was Arnold's Hat. Yeah. Arnold's Hat was, Steve Vixton wrote the script, but it was, I remember the bubblegum shrine was my idea. Oh, and I said, it'll be great. Helga will have this kooky shrine in her closet. And Jay Linder was the layout guy who drew that first one. It was very, it was really collaborative. You got to, there's 50 people all piling in, I said, wouldn't it be funny if she'd made a shrine of all of his gum? And she just kept collecting gum in little baggies. She grabs it with like a tweezer, puts it in a baggie, and then she sticks it on, and you realize that it's got hundreds of gum wads. And it's shaped like his head. I remember we pitched it, and they were like, it's hilarious. And then it came back as a probably as an animatic, and we showed it to the execs in New York, and they loved it. They're like, it's hilarious. And Jerry Laybourne, who was the president of Nick then, she said, I was Helga. And so instead of saying, it's way too weird, this whole stocky, kind of, this is creepiness, they were like, it's hilarious. So instead of being discouraged, we were encouraged to keep going. So I just made Helga really, really intense. And you got to say, Franny, who played Helga, was so good. She was so funny and so talented that it turned into this kind of like living character to me. She was really real.
My way, geek bait.
We would record week after week, and we'd see each other all the time and spend all these hours recording together, and so we would kind of workshop the stuff that we thought was funny. Gerald started going, and then he'd say something like, Arnold and Helga slow dancing to backwards disco music, and now I've seen everything. And that was just a bit. Gerald would go, and then say what's happening, and they'd say, now I've seen everything. And we just started doing it. Harold would cry like a baby. Sid was the best crier ever. Sid would completely fall apart and And we would just write these episodes that would be Sid falls apart episodes.
Yeah.
Like Sid gets in a lie that he can't get out of. You know, there was one where he was like working for the mobster kid, Big Gino, and there was the one where he borrowed Arnold's room and you know, pretending to the rich kid that it was his room, and he caught up in the lie, and it gets weirder and weirder. And finally, it's like, you know, it's like Breaking Bad. I mean, he's completely coming unglued.
Watch me!
A lot of Hey Arnold was drawn. One of the main artists was Tuck Tucker, who was the supervising director for years, and you know, he and I worked on the pilot together, and we went back. We both met at Bob Rogers, you know, doing some storyboards for Bob Rogers before that. And so Tuck, you know, he's a great artist, and his Helgas were really definitive. I remember Monkey Business, when she thinks she's going to get monkey nucleosis and turn into a monkey. And in the beginning, it all gets set up at the beginning. She runs into Arnold, and he skateboards into her. She's coming around a corner, and they, you know, crash, and they fall down, and he apologizes, and she says, you know, watch where you're going, football head, ugh, you know, and he leaves. And then she watches him go, and her face falls into this really kind of, it's so good, man. It's very tender, and it's kind of, she's so kind of, all that longing and that unfulfilled, you know, all those wishes that are never going to come true. It's all in that drawing. And you kind of forgive her for being such a jerk, and you really love her. Because that's, you know, there's a lot of soul in the way that they get drawn. Arnold, originally, his head was very much like a blimp. It kind of went like this. And then we ended up, it became more of a kind of a taco head. It had kind of a flat bottom. Again, I was looking at that going, yeah, I get it. That's better looking. It's not as extreme as the original, but it's a little bit more likable. And there's a thing called, it's called off model when you draw something that's not like the model sheet. And really often you get these bad off model drawings, either by the board guys or by from Korea or whatever. And we would collect them. I would get some, I just go, oh man, look at this cell. This is the ugliest Arnold I've ever seen. And I had a big collection of them. And so that was like third season, we got this idea. The writers were like, what if he had a weird cousin who was like Arnold, but like ugly? And so that was it. That was all because of off-model drawings of Arnold. We got this wonderful inspiration to do the weird cousin. Arnie looks like a really badly drawn Arnold. And Lila falls for him. He meets the nice Helga and realizes that Helga's the one for him.
Yeah.
And Lila's like a tramp, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, favorite episode? Well, that's tough. I kind of like the Helga on the couch. That's kind of complicated.
Yeah.
And it's very kind of meta because, you know, you actually go, I really want to find out why Helga's this way. And so you have her go to do a bunch of therapy sessions and say everything.
I love Arnold! There, I said it!
I also like the kind of more like the adventures as well. Like I like, there were some early ones that were more straight up adventures, like the haunted train, and I like Monkey Business where Helga turns into a monkey. I like the parrot. Helga gets the pet.
Yeah.
Big Bob gets the pet parrot.
Someday I'll tell the world my love or my needs, not help.
They're really fun to watch, and there's jokes, you know. It's some of the ones that I like are not as much about jokes. Well, School Play is really fun.
School Play is awesome.
You know, because it's got Romeo and Juliet, and I love the back half where Helga, the whole second half of the thing is Helga basically taking out all the other Juliets, and she announces her plan. It's like the act break is her going, "Mwahaha," you know, what a great plan, and then she laughs and coughs and laughs some more. The ones that are kind of the big kind of half-hour ones like Thanksgiving and Christmas and School Play, and you know, I like those for that reason, that they're kind of bigger, grander stories. But I also like some of the shorter, sillier ones, like The Hat and Monkey Business. Helga, then probably Grandpa, Grandma, the dream grandparents, you know, like grandparents that none of us ever had, but wouldn't that be cool? I don't know. All those dogs and cats that burst out the door, that was a joke that was from the very start. I said, wouldn't it be cool if it said, no kids, pets okay on the outside of the boarding house? And so then there would be a lot of pets. And then when Arnold opened the door, they would pour out. And Arnold was kind of he was a sort of a kind of a quiet, dreamy kid at the beginning. In the pilot, it became an episode called 24 Hours to Live, which played in the first season. I had an idea that Arnold would come home bummed, and actually a lot of the early premises would be like, something happens, it's not really Arnold's fault, and he feels really bad about it, and he's got a long time to think about it.
Yeah.
And usually to sad, bluesy music that Jim Lang did, Arnold would go for a long Charlie Brown walk where you'd see Arnold really small walking through the landscape, bumming out. And so he walks up the stairs to his house, and the music's playing, and he opens the door, and the dogs and cats and pigs pour out, and he doesn't even react, you know, and he just goes in, Grandpa, I have a problem. And so that was kind of, that became a bit, you know, the dogs would pour out and Arnold would be like, and I don't know who they belong to. They live at they're kind of feral.
Yeah.
They just sort of
Like
live
a
on the
pig.
street and they come in, eat at the boarding house, and they run out again.
But here we go.